Oh dear. Here we go. If something you use every day suddenly became more expensive or harder to find, you might blame inflation. But part of the story is something else. Supply chains are under tremendous pressure. So, what are they? Supply chains are how the modern world moves. Raw materials, factories, shipping, warehousing, and even retail. They connect everything. Food, electronics, clothing, medicine, and they rely on one thing above all else. A thing that is now in very, very scarce supply. Reliability. So why is reliability breaking? You might ask. Well, climate risk disrupts reliability. Don't believe me? Indulge me for a second. Heat slows labor. Factual. Floods damage infrastructure. Factual. Storms delay shipping. Undeniable. And droughts affect populations. With me so far? Global logistics and climate research show increasing disruptions are tied to extreme weather events. So each disruption is manageable, but they're happening more often as time progresses. Which brings me to the first uncomfortable truth. Supply chains are fragile by design. They are optimized for efficiency, not for resilience. Just-in-time logistics systems minimize inventory, but increase vulnerability to disruption because nothing says stability like having no backup. So it opens the floodgates of cascading effects. One disruption rarely ever stays isolated. Instead, a delayed shipment affects production. Production delays affect distribution. Distribution delays affect availability, and availability affects prices. This is simply called a cascade. But food is the most sensitive system of them all. The food supply chain is vulnerable on so many capacities. Agriculture depends on weather. Transport depends on infrastructure. Storage depends on energy, which just means that there are way too many facets that need to all go right for this supply chain to work optimally. And if they don't, well, you've seen what happens when supply chains collapse. We witnessed this during the pandemic. We're witnessing this now when there are global choke points being threatened and blockades being in place. So food systems are highly climate sensitive due to exposure at every single stage. Small disruptions can affect the lives of millions. So who is to blame, or what is to blame? Well, globalization made supply chains efficient, undeniable. Production moved to where it was cheapest instead of where it was more stable. And logistics became a global entity. But this inherently increased complexity to the point wherein complexity is increasing vulnerability, which narrows it down to uncomfortable truth number 2. The system that we're talking about worked because conditions were stable. But now conditions are changing, not just from a climate standpoint, but a geopolitical standpoint. So the same system that once thrived now becomes fragile. But companies are trying to adapt because that's the only way they stay in business. They're diversifying suppliers, they're moving production, and most importantly, they're building redundancy protocols. But these changes are bound to increase costs. And these costs, they show up for the end consumer. So in a full circle moment, let me take you to uncomfortable truth number 3. Reliability now costs more money. And resilience, that requires exponential investment. Guess what? Someone has to pay for it. And who might that someone be? So the future of supply chains will not be defined by speed or cost alone. Not anymore. They will be defined by resilience. And that just fundamentally changes how the global economy works today. If this changed how you look at everyday systems and why you end up paying a lot more when things are happening on the other side of the globe, subscribe. This is Noviksgiven. We try to explain the systems shaping everyday lives long before they break. Or at least, we try to. I'll see you in the next one.